Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase podcast. Today, we are talking with Michele Johnston. She's from Fiercely Authentic Coaching. She's a life and empowerment coach who empowers women who feel lost to come back to their heart center and create more fulfilling lives. Welcome to the show, Michele. We were talking beforehand about some of the things that we kind of have in common, and I'm really excited to hear your story, how you got to where you're at.
Yeah.
What you're doing.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here. So my backstory is that I was raised in a real strict religious background with strict gender roles, ideas of what a woman, a mother, and a wife should be, and how to get there. And being raised in this environment, I didn't know any better, obviously, went through my teenage years. And around 18 years old, I hit that rebellious stage that most of us do. All of a sudden, we get some independence and we can drive and do all the things. And that was really the first glimpse of my authentic self that I had, who Michele really was. And, you know, she was kind of fun. She was kind of fun, kind of crazy. And I had a blast. But, those couple of years of rebellion, I still had that nagging voice in the back of my head. You know, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. This isn't how you should be acting. You shouldn't be drinking. You shouldn't be swearing, all the things. And it got to a point when I was about 20 years old, I started thinking, okay, you've had your fun. I actually used to joke that I had done so much and experienced so much in those 2 years that having a midlife crisis was not even an option for me. I've been there, done that, and did all the things. But around 20 years old, I started thinking I need to start looking for someone to settle down with, because what I was doing, how I was acting, wasn't the woman that I should be. And so I found a nice young man who was very quiet and conservative and had very good, strong morals and standards. And I thought, okay, this guy is going to be the perfect balance to my wild side. And he's going to elevate me to where I need to be be this example of a woman and a, wife to my children that I need to be. So I ended up getting married around at 23, and had the first of 4 children at 23 as well. And I knew that was my purpose, to be a wife and a mom. And I just dove headfirst into those roles. You get caught up in motherhood. I think the majority of us do. It's especially those first few years, your whole focus is on rearing your child and your children. And then you have more, and then it's just one thing after another, and then school, and then activities, and all the things. And all of a sudden, your whole identity is being a mom, or being a professional woman, or being a wife, you're so focused on being that role and fulfilling that role, and you lose yourself. And I absolutely lost who I was as an individual. And about 15 years into my motherhood journey, my youngest started preschool. And all of a sudden, I had an extra couple hours in the morning after I've got everyone to school, cleaned up breakfast, had a couple hours. There's only so much laundry and housekeeping you can do before you're sitting there just in the quiet of the house with yourself and wondering, what do I do next? And so that was a really big pivotal moment in my life where I actually realized that I didn't know who I was anymore. I had completely lost myself in being a mom and being the perfect homemaker, that I totally lost what made me happy outside of my, family. Um, I didn't know what my interests were outside of the coolest kid crafts on Pinterest and, themed birthday parties. I I didn't have any of that. So I basically had to start from ground zero in rediscovering who I was.
And the religious practice that you were involved in, I don't know where you lived, but if you were living in a community around a lot of those people, it tends to, you tend to get pushed into things that you may or may not want to be doing,
Mm.
um, because you get assigned jobs.
Yes, this
And
is
that even
true.
goes further into pushing you. And this happens in quite a few denominations, but the one that you were in particularly is good at this, where they not only promote having a lot of children, and I'm a person I've had 5 children,
Mhm.
and I live in a community like you were raised in. And I see the juxtaposition from people that are just like, they're given jobs to do. And the more that you feel aligned, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, the more stuff is dumped on you. So you lose yourself more and more is the point I was trying to make. It's really easy to just get lost. You
Mhm.
you forget who you were as a human being and what magnificent things you have to contribute to the world. You don't have to go out there and prove anything to
Mhm.
anyone.
That's it. I was just about to talk your point to proving things, and with all those roles and those tasks and jobs and whatnot come the expectations. So not only are you losing yourself, but in the process of that, you're also struggling every moment of every day to reach these expectations that have been instilled in you that are totally not feasible expectations to reach. So you're struggling because you don't know who you are, but you're also beating yourself because you're not who you should be either. And
Right.
it's a really difficult place to be.
It's in the trying to be something that you feel like you should be. It's always that elusive, um, those elusive character traits that, there's an easy way to live life, which is just, figuring out where your center is and what your norms and standards are, regardless of what other people say they should be, and going with that and what feels good. And is, you know, I'm not talking about going out and doing destructive things, even for yourself. I was involved in Christianity for almost 30 years, and I put myself into it, went all the way through it, and came out the other side. And during all of that time, I struggled with alcohol. I struggled with numbing myself. I
Yeah.
struggled with never feeling like I was good enough and always trying to do things to like prove myself. But on the other side, when I just realized, I'm good enough as I am, And I'm perfectly fine. If
Mhm.
people have a problem with it, great. They don't have to be my friend. I'm good by myself,
Yeah.
honestly.
And
Um,
that's amazing when you finally get to that spot where it doesn't matter anymore.
I don't drink alcohol anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not because I can't or I shouldn't or any of those reasons. I wasn't a drunk. I just like to drink a lot of alcohol. That I embraced sobriety a few months ago, and I don't have any desire for it. It's like it it
It
doesn't enhance my life, and it wasn't
right.
enhancing my life then. That it was always like, hey, I know I shouldn't do this. And it was the shouldn't do this part
Mm,
that made it so difficult to just lay it down.
yeah.
And once you can get to that point, it's like, and it goes to your point of,
Yeah.
recognizing who you are and that you are enough.
Hmm. Yeah. So you know, for me, I was at this point of finding out who I was, and I was a super people pleaser.
Hmm.
As I'm sure you were too.
Yep.
And so to I had to work past the things like saying no without guilt, putting myself first without shame. Those kinds of things were huge obstacles to overcome. And it really started with me d- discovering what made me happy, finding my happy again. Because once you find your happy, oh my gosh, it feels so freaking good. It becomes a non-negotiable. And all of a sudden you're like super protective of it. And no one can come into my happy space anymore. Like you guard it with your life when you finally find it after being in years and years of your life without really knowing what happy was. And so for me, I started stripping things down, trying to figure out who I was. One of the things that came initially was that my last child was born 6 weeks early because I had hypertension. And I was also diagnosed as being pre-diabetic. So I had totally disregarded my health to care for my family. So for me, that was kind of like a first thing, like, okay, let's go to the very basic foundation. I need to be healthy. So I started, finding different forms of movement, trying to find something that kind of fit with me. And for me, that was heavy lifting. And love to share the story about being part of a workout group of like middle-aged women. I was about 36 at the time. And we did a bunch of exercises that were more of like primal movements, like the heavy lifting, the kettlebells, bear crawls, just barefoot and just really getting down to it. And we showed up for class one day, and our instructor said, "Okay, come out to the parking lot." And we all went out to the parking lot, and there was a ginormous pickup truck filled with kettlebells in the back of it. We're like, okay, what's happening here? And he said, "You guys are going to push this truck." Oh, hell no. Like, are you for serious? Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to push this truck. I can hardly like carry my 3-year-old when he begs for it. So it comes to my turn. I, level up with the truck, barefoot, lean into it, and lo and behold, I push this truck a good 2 yards. And it was in that moment I realized not only was I physically stronger than I ever imagined I could be, but mentally I like overcame all that self-doubt in that moment. And I was like, holy crap, I am so much stronger than I ever imagined, both mentally and physically. And I fell in love with that adrenaline rush. I fell in love with that strength that I had just discovered that was within myself. And I started pushing myself to the limits with fitness and ultimately, I ended up doing a fitness competition, actually 3. And it was so liberating for me. Up until that moment, I used to say the most liberating experience in my life was giving birth to my children. Like, you're there for everyone to see. And, it kind of felt the same thing. It was just me up on that stage in that bling bikini and hooker heels, and I was doing my thing, and I felt so empowered and so strong and so proud of what I had accomplished. So I really felt this empowerment and this joy and this happy in taking care of myself, uh, continuously digging deeper into the strength that was within me. And in the process, I was inspiring other women, other moms that were in the same realm of life as I was. And I just took it and ran with it, and it was amazing.
That is so cool. I love when I hear stories about women who are into bodybuilding. It's I've known a few of them over the years, and just the dedication and the discipline.
Mhm,
But discipline not because you have to, discipline because you want to. It feels
mhm,
good, and it it's settled. It's settling into an exercise that's right for you.
mhm.
Whereas, it's not right for everyone, but
Yeah,
when you find that thing that's right for you and you can embrace it, it it changes your life.
it
It,
does.
because it changes the way you think about things
Mhm,
and the possibilities. It opens doors that
yeah.
never were before. Open before.
Absolutely. And besides like the fitness stuff, I really got curious about life and what was out there. And this is what I talk with other women about too, is you don't have to push a big truck and, do all these grand things. I'm a 0 to 100 kind of girl. So that's how I live life. But besides focusing on my health, I was like, well, I always do my holiday pictures for my family. So maybe I'll explore photography a little bit more. I kind of find that fun. And I always wanted to learn about stocks and investing. Maybe I'll learn about that. And so I tapped into my community's resources. I signed up for some adult ed classes, inexpensive, like a 6-week commitment. And you get these introductions to things that you might have been interested in, or a hobby that you might want to take a little bit further and dig a little deeper. And it's just this process of getting curious and, oh, that always looked like fun. I mean, I've done some crazy things, and just because, like, well, that looks like fun, I think I want to try that. And that's
Mhm.
how you find you're happy, is through this process of curiosity. And then when something sticks, you run with it, and it's just an amazing process. And then that becomes your like non-negotiable. Fitness and exercise became my non-negotiable. And it was amazing.
I Yeah, I love that for you. I love that so much. I'm thinking back at like the progress that I went through and the things that I've learned over the years that they seem so totally unrelated to what I do now, but
Right.
they're part of who I am.
Mhm.
They shape the reasons that I do things that I do. So I totally get the non-negotiable part. So when you're helping
Mhm.
these women, you have a coaching program, right? You
Yes,
do
I do.
one-on-one coaching.
Hmm.
And do you help them with, I'm assuming it's going to have to be holistically, because you don't become a bodybuilder unless you're like fit, fitting all those little pieces into the box. The
Hmm.
mindset, which is
Yes.
like, that's 90%. And then another 5% is nutrition and 5% is
Yeah.
just actually showing up.
Yeah. I was like, the aesthetic factor, that's like the icing on the cake. Like, all I want is to be healthy. Um, yeah, so I'm a life and empowerment coach, and I mostly work with women. Oh my gosh, can you see that fly?
Yeah, I have one in here too. So
It like landed right on my nose. Sorry, I couldn't even ignore that one.
didn't see that.
I work with primarily women who are in this process of discovering themselves. I help support them through what I like to call a midlife awakening, because that's truly what it is. There is no such thing as a midlife crisis. It's an awakening. You're coming back into your own and finding what makes you happy, finding what makes you feel fulfilled, and really on that journey towards your purpose that everyone's looking for. So that's what I do with my coaching, is help these women along this path of awakening.
I love that. I love that. And they can get in touch with you by going to Instagram?
Instagram. Yeah,
Okay.
Instagram is the best place to get in touch with me. And my handle is Fiercely Authentic Coaching. And I love, 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 love connecting with women. So please don't hesitate to slide into my DMs and say hi. I would love to chat with anyone that reaches out.
Perfect. Perfect. Um, I know that you have something that you offer these women also. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. When I was in my when I started my rediscovery process, I really got into fitness, and it actually, you know, started the, I'm trying to find the right words here, started the events that became the unraveling of my marriage. So it was a super exciting and happy time for me, but at the same time, it was a very difficult and dark time for me as well. And one of the things that really got me through this period was ridding my life from as much negativity as I possibly could, and bringing in positivity. And one of the ways I did that was through affirmations. And I would create affirmations and motivational quotes and create them into wallpapers that I would put on my phone. So I've created a few of these wallpapers for your listeners, your audience. And so I'd love to gift that all to you that tune in.
Perfect. And we will put that in the show notes as well, Lily, so that they can
Wonderful.
get to that. So in your journey, and you became, I can kind of relate to your transformation and then and your divorce all happening at the same time. Like it's kind of like the journey that I went on when I was about 35,
Mm,
36. It was just
yeah.
like, and I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
And it was just the working out part of it allowed me to just focus on something other than the pain that I was going through with the family situation. It wasn't even so much the kids, it was just the wrong person that I picked.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there are a lot of religions that are just like, if you decide that you've picked the wrong person, you should just stay with that person anyway and
Mhm.
just continue on and let the abuse that does end up happening continue.
Yeah.
Just as like the silliest thing I've ever heard of. But
Mhm. Yeah, I get that.
so while I don't actively encourage people to separate, I do encourage people to, really look at your relationships and make sure that they're still serving you at whatever point in your life you're at. It's it's okay. It's okay to make changes in your life. You don't have to stay stuck.
Mhm. Yeah, it was very difficult for me to, ultimately I was faced with the decision of, do I stay in this marriage, or do I fight for my happiness? And I chose to fight for my happiness because by this point, I knew my worth and I knew that I deserved to be happy. And it became that non-negotiable piece again. And I was willing to fight for it. And I mean, you could ask my children today, like, I was always saying, I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be happy. Why is this happening? Why are you guys fighting? I deserve to be happy. And I left my marriage of 18 years. And it was really difficult because from a religious point, um, there was a lot on the line by walking away. And I still chose my happiness. And I did lose a lot of friends because a lot of my friends were in the church and a lot of people didn't understand what was going on, or Michelle, the grass is not always greener, and, all the things, but I knew what was right for me. So it was very difficult and it was very painful. To lose relationships and lose friendships that I thought would last forever. And then in a decision, they were no longer my friends anymore. They walked away. And it was the most difficult time, but now on the other end of it, it was it was the best thing that could have happened, because them leaving opened up the doors for so many amazing and wonderful people, supportive and caring people to come into my life.
Yeah, you can only hold so much space for people in your life, and
Mhm.
sometimes you just got to weed them out. It's
Yeah.
painful, but it's better on the other side because I get to meet people and
Yeah.
they're interesting, and they may not be there forever either. I mean,
Mhm.
people
Yeah.
just kind of like cycle. Some are there for a long time, but some
Yeah.
are meant to just kind of pass through
Yeah.
and
I
touch your life.
feel like every person, like you just said, touch your life. They come in and they leave a lesson. There's some lesson with every interaction that with anyone or experience that you have. There's a lesson in it. And
Mhm.
looking at it with that perspective really helps when those people leave your life. It's less painful. It's still a little, but it's like, okay, there was a lesson and they served a purpose, and they no longer serve that purpose anymore, and it's okay.
Yeah. It, and they all have their own journey. And
Mhm.
sometimes our paths, we're walking together and then they split, and sometimes they circle back and they may
Mhm.
come back into your life at some point, which is really interesting. And
Yeah.
those experiences, I'm old enough to know.
Yeah.
I've had a few people that have come back. They've been in my life, they've gone out of my life, they come back into my life, they go
Mhm.
out of my life, they come back into my life. And it's always really interesting when we reconnect.
Yeah.
It's not, if you can have the journey and let people go and let the flow happen, it's it's less it's less on you personally, in terms of, I was a bad person, I didn't, maintain this relationship. It takes all the stress off of relationships. I mean, you can just have
Yeah.
casual relationships with people that we've been told you have to have really strong, permanent relationships with
Mhm.
these people. It's like, well, no, really, you don't. You could just, like,
Yeah.
if they're fitting in on the journey, great. If they're not,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I love that so much, because I'm noticing that more and more with me too, and the relationships that I have. And it, for me in particular, is pretty difficult because I'm an empath. So I also I dive deep. Like every single person I come in contact with is like my best friend. And I take in an emotional investment in pretty much anyone that I talk with or have like a connection with. So it is really difficult to just, not be 0 to 100 and just let the flow happen. Let that, yeah, ebb and flow. People come in, people come out, they serve their purpose in your life, you and theirs, and the cycle just keeps going. I love that so much.
And it's the not having to help everybody. I used to feel like it was my duty to help every single person.
Yes.
And it's like, it's exhausting. And you're not really helping them because, you know,
Hmm.
honestly, unless they're saying, hey, help me, I'm drowning,
Yeah.
and you have the proper equipment, you're just going to drown with them. You know?
Yeah. No, for sure. It becomes a real energy drain. And before you know it, you're sinking too. And you didn't even realize it was happening. Yeah. It's very difficult.
Yeah, the whole boundaries thing is great.
Hmm.
It's like when I discovered boundaries was like, oh, they're for me.
Yeah. The
And
boundaries
other
that
people can have them too.
oh my gosh. And it's amazing. But, like I was saying, getting over that hurdle of the no guilt and the shame of just not being everything to everyone all of the time, kind of, it's so freaking difficult. And the disappointment factor, like being a people pleaser, like the most horrific thing in your life would be to disappoint someone. And I still struggle with that today. And even over the silliest, like little things, I'm so afraid sometimes to let someone down or, um, like a funny thing is that I always wanted to get a tattoo, but it was always a no kind of thing. And at the age of 45, I found a tattoo concept that I absolutely loved. And so I got a tattoo. But you know what? I was terrified of telling my parents. I was terrified of disappointing them at 40 freaking 5.
I was 62 when I got my first tattoo, my only tattoo. And I went to see my dad for his birthday, and he's like 87. And my sister was there, and she's like, my sister, she's in her 60s also. She said, Dad, Jill got a tattoo.
And what did you have a total like oh shit moment? Like, oh no, am I gonna get
No, it's on my
grounded?
ankle, and this was Arizona. I'm 63 years old. If I'm going to get a tattoo, it's okay. It's not like he has any control over my life, but it's you still feel that I'm like a 10-year-old child, and what are my parents going to say?
Yeah, because that approval and yep. That is so funny. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one because I'm like, this is so ridiculous. Why are you feeling like such a child? But I guess we always will.
I don't think it ever goes away. That you can love them or hate them. They're your parents. They're
Yeah.
always going to have some impact on your life.
Yeah.
And as your kids get older, you'll find that, some of them they'll meander in and out of your life too, because that's just what kids do. They
Yeah.
they go through different points in their life, and it's okay. They may be mad at you one time, and later they may not. They
Yeah.
may be mad at you forever. Who knows?
Yeah.
I have friends that have lots of kids, and some of
Yeah.
their kids are just like, they're so together and they're so connected with their parents, and others of them, they're just like, you guys suck.
Well, I have 3 boys. My oldest is 23, and then my daughter is 21, and my 2 littles are 17 and 15. And my boys are totally mama's boys, 100%. But man, my daughter is so much like me. We bump heads like all the time. And she is definitely my in and out. Like we're either hot or we're cold. And I was like, okay, well, that's just how it is. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll change when she gets married and has kids. We'll see.
I have 3 boys and 2 girls.
Okay.
My oldest is a girl, and she's the one that she wanders in and out.
Mm,
She's amazing. I think she's a
yeah.
fantastic human being, and she's so accomplished that I, you know, but periodically I'm the bad guy. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It is what it is. I finally just came to terms with that. Like we just had a little, out like a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay. She's okay. This is just how it's going to be. And that's
There's
okay.
something like 30 or 40% of adult children are estranged from their parents at some
Wow.
level. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, just the percentages, I guess. And everybody, I personally believe at this point in my life that everybody comes here and they have contracts for how their life is going to go. And we invite people into our lives and out of our lives, and we're supposed to teach each other lessons that we
Mm-hmm.
want to be taught. And, this is at some level, I signed up for this and she signed up for it. So
Yeah.
it's just going to go as it's going to go.
Yeah,
It's like,
absolutely. Everyone's on their own path. So we just do the best we can with what we have and what we know.
yeah. And we are okay as individuals. We are
Mhm.
totally fine, and they are totally fine.
Absolutely.
We don't even have to be mad at them. We can just,
Mhm.
let them have space.
Yes. And that's the key. Let them have space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Michele, is there one thing that you want to leave the audience with today?
Yeah, touching on that bit of rediscovery and having that moment, where you're alone with yourself and wondering what to do. And then, without fail, you're going to be looking back on the years and how did they go by and, all those things. And so what I'd really like to share with the audience is if you're in that phase of life where you're discovering yourself or rediscovering again, you know, move forward, forgiving yourself for for doing the best that you knew how to do at the time with what you had, just like we just talked, that forgiveness piece, forgiving yourself, giving yourself the grace to move forward. Now you're in a learning curve. You're learning who you are, and you're going to flop, and some things are not going to go so well, and some things are going to be fantastic. So move forward with grace and try and keep a judgment-free zone for yourself as well. And then just look every day for a little bit of positivity that you can invite into your life. I feel in this world we're lacking it so much, whereas it used to be commonplace to pay a compliment to a stranger or to smile at someone. And now we hardly even make eye contact with people on the streets. So look for the little positive things that happen to you every day. And if it helps, create a gratitude journal to help reminding yourself of the positive things that happen, even if it's, I caught every green light today going across town. It's the little things. And as you look and invite little positive things into your life, they will grow bigger and bigger. That positive momentum will start growing and growing, and you'll start seeing some amazing positive shifts in your life. And you'll start feeling more aligned with your journey and your journey to your purpose, and finding that happy that's going to keep you going through it all.
Yeah. Finding that happy and
Mhm.
being at peace with however it shows up.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much, Michele, for joining us today. This has been amazing.
I've loved every minute. Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the U World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.